Before its launch last year, people were very excited about the James Webb Space Telescope. But now that the most powerful and expensive telescope ever built is up and running, the JUST could turn astronomy on its head with just one discovery. Scientists are in a panic because the most recent pictures from the James Webb Telescope show that the Big Bang Theory is wrong. What are these newest pictures from the JUST? What do photos show? The theory of the Big Bang was wrong. Join us as we look at what the James Webb Space Telescope finally proved. The theory of the Big Bang is wrong. How much can a telescope cost? The James Webb Space Telescope set a new record in this regard. In terms of work hours, the telescope took millions of hours to make, and its development cost a lot of money and took decades. No other telescope comes close to the price of $10 billion. The James Webb ST was also a nightmare for engineers because it had to be made to fit. The launch rocket wasn't big enough to hold it, so engineers had to make it fold up in more than one place. The big heat shield was folded up and needed to be spread out. The main part of the telescope, the reflecting mirror, had to be broken into 18 pieces and then folded so that it could be moved to its permanent location. This was not even the most dangerous part of the telescope. Because there were so many things that could go wrong, engineers and scientists who worked on it literally held their breath during the launch. The fact that the JUST can no longer be fixed or maintained only added to their worries. Where the telescope is, so far away, about 1 million miles, that you can't send a crew to fix it. If something goes wrong, there is no way to refuel. This means that the mission is over when the fuel runs out, even though it might be worth it. But with the James Webb ST, the risks are more than worth it. It will help us learn more about the far reaches of the universe in a way that no other single scientific tool has. Scientists from all over the world have been waiting in line to use the powerful telescope to study space since it became operational. But none of them were ready for one of the first bad surprises the telescope had for them just a few weeks after it started working. The James Webb ST has sent back pictures that show the Big Bang couldn't have happened. When it comes to astronomy, the Big Bang is like the Bible. Many people use the Big Bang to explain how the universe began because of the hit show The Big Bang Theory. However, the Big Bang Theory has its roots in a priest. George Lemaitre is an astronomer. In 1927, he had the big idea that the universe began as a single point a very long time ago. He said that the universe had to stretch and grow to get as big as it is now, and that it could still grow some years from now. Lemaitre's idea was used by the famous astronomer Edwin Hubble, whose space telescope was named after him. Hubble found that other galaxies were moving away from us and that the galaxies that were farthest away were moving faster than the ones that were close to us. This made the astronomer think that the universe was still getting bigger. Just like Lemaitre thought, if things were moving away from each other, it meant that they had been close together a long time ago. You see, the Big Bang says that when the universe started, it was just a bunch of hot, small particles mixed with light and energy. But as everything grew and took up more space, it cooled down. The tiny particles then came together and formed atoms. Then these atoms joined together, and over a long period of time, the stars and galaxies we see today were formed. These first stars made atoms and groups of atoms bigger, which led to the birth of more stars. At the same time, stars were being born and dying, and galaxies were crashing into each other and getting closer together. Other things like asteroids, comets, planets, and black holes also formed. All of this happened in about 14 billion years, but what if the Big Bang didn't happen? Many scientists may not like to think about this, since the Big Bang Theory has become the cornerstone of modern astronomy, but the JUST isn't sorry about its recent set of pictures. The general public may be fascinated by the JUST's stunning images. Scientists are trying hard to figure out how to explain the difference between their ideas and the theory of the Big Bang. The problem with the pictures is that they show a lot of galaxies that are smooth, small, and old, which goes against the Big Bang Theory. Let's look at it from the too small point of view. First, let's suppose that the universe is growing. There must be a strange optical illusion. The truth is that galaxies and other naturally occurring objects in space don't look smaller and smaller as they get farther away after a certain point. If you want to know why, it's because their light should have left them when they were closer to us. This makes them look bigger and bigger. This is the opposite of what we see in normal space, which doesn't grow. Scientists who have looked at the JUST images can't hide the fact that they show smaller galaxies that are brighter and heavier than the Milky Way. This is because objects look smaller the farther away they are. Galaxies look 2 to 3 times smaller in these pictures than they did in similar pictures taken with the Hubble Space Telescope. The redshifts of the new galaxies are also 2 to 3 times larger. This is not what you would expect from a universe that is growing. If the universe isn't expanding and redshift is proportional to distance, then the galaxies that the James Webb ST shows are the same size as the galaxy closest to us. But the Big Bang says that these faraway galaxies must be very small to make up for the optical illusion that there is only one galaxy. The GAD-S2 shines brighter than the Milky Way, but its size is only 300 light-years across, which is 150 times smaller than the size of our Milky Way. It would have 600 times the size, brightness, or brightness per unit area of the brightest galaxy nearby. If it were as dense as the galaxies we see now, it would be tens of thousands of times that. What about the galaxies being smooth? What does that mean for the theory of the Big Bang? Well, for the Big Bang to be true, there must be Mighty Mouse galaxies, which are very small but very dense. The problem is a lot worse now because of just. The theory says that the small galaxies grow into the galaxies we see today by bumping into each other and merging as they get farther apart to show this kind of merger. Imagine a magical toy car that is only a centimeter long but weighs as much as an SUV. Now imagine that it grows into a real SUV by crashing into many other toy cars. This is where the images from the just start to be a problem for the Big Bang. Even though the picture looks unbelievable at first, you would expect at least some dents in the cars that hit each other. So people who believe in the Big Bang thought that galaxies would have scars or rough edges from the impact they survived or went through. But to their surprise, the just show that most galaxies have smooth disks and neat spiral shapes. There is no difference between how they look and how galaxies look today. Data show that the images had about 10 times more smooth spiral galaxies than the theory said they should have. This goes against the idea that galaxies often merge together. In other words, this data attacks the merger theory. Now what happens when only a few galaxies join together? The problem is that galaxies can't get that big without merging. This means that the biggest galaxies have always been huge and have never been small. It also refers to the optical illusion that the expanding universe said would happen. Hypothesis does not exist, and since there is no illusion, there is no growth. The illusion is a prediction that can't be avoided because of expansion. Let's look at the two things that are old. Next, this is the same as or very similar to too many. JAGOST uses many filters to take pictures in the infrared part of the spectrum. This lets astronomers see the colors of galaxies that are far away. Astronomers use this to figure out how old the stars in these galaxies are. Older, cooler stars look yellow or red, while young, hot stars look blue. Now the Big Bang Theory says that even the farthest galaxies are part of it. Images are showing up in the just the way they did 400 million to 500 million years after the universe began. But some of these galaxies have star populations that are more than 1 billion years old. This is because nothing could have come from where they are now before the Big Bang. These galaxies show that there was no Big Bang. Since we can't have a galaxy older than the Big Bang, the just should see fewer and fewer galaxies if the Big Bang Theory is right. The more it remembers the past. Researchers are showing that galaxies as big as the Milky Way are common even a few hundred million years after the supposed Big Bang. They say that the new just images show at least 100,000 times as many galaxies as theorists predicted at redshifts of more than 10. It's not likely that so many large galaxies could have formed in such a short time, which means there was something before the Big Bang. Let's take a moment to think about what would happen if scientists agreed that the Big Bang Theory is wrong. Then there must be a different way to explain how the universe began. Plasma filamentation, which has been around for about 50 years, could be a reason. Physical processes can actually explain how this works. Often seen in the lab, plasma is the electrically conductive gas that makes up most of the matter in space, including stars and the space between them. Only the Hubble redshift relation would still need some new physical process to explain why light loses energy as it travels over very long distances. Scientists have found and studied plasma filamentation to be an important process in plasmas. This is how electric currents and the magnetic field they make pull plasma into a system of filaments that can be seen at all sizes in the universe. Plasma filamentation is one of the basic things that happened before planets, stars, galaxies, and other structures were made. To make fusion energy happen on purpose, plasma filamentation is also very important. The JAGOST is just doing its job by making us think about the universe in new ways. Scientists are already wondering what would happen if the Big Bang never happened. Let's hear your thoughts on whether or not the Big Bang Theory is true. In the space below for comments.